Yeah, tomorrow is a pretty important interview. So
You already have your tie picked out?
what's that?
You already have your tie picked out?
Oh no, not yet. Not yet.
Okay.
We'll be.
God, hey, I don't know why everybody's bashing you about the mustache. I don't think it looks that bad. I really
Who's
don't.
bashing me about the mustache?
Everybody in our family hates it. Everyone
Who's
thinks we look
everybody?
homeless.
Who's
Everyone whose opinions has never mattered in our lives and just told us we've been stupid our whole lives.
Like my mother, I know my mother hates it.
Yeah.
Does your mom not like it?
She doesn't like it. My brother doesn't like it.
Your brother doesn't like it.
Yeah. I don't know if my aunt likes it or not.
Probably not.
Nah. They never liked us. Well, not that they don't never liked us. They just never understood us. And that's okay. They've accepted us. Hey, again, second week where this is not even working, another contribution to prop.
Right. It's probably personality, doing less with more, or doing more with less.
Should I just get one, or should I just keep it like this the whole time, kind of like your shirt situation?
Next week, are we going to be recording?
I hope. I mean, I don't have any dude, you know what I was thinking? I was running today, and I was thinking about who's on the show this week, and I'm like, dude, I don't know if I showed all my cards too soon. I've used every.
We have to play.
Exactly. I mean, if we want to put Jeremy on the spot and say, hey, is there any way you can hook us up with some more talent?
Yeah.
Because I have no idea. I have no more. I'm out.
But like, I guess what we could always two things. Excuse me, we could always get homegrown talent. We could ask our friends to jump on.
I know, but this has been fun. Like, it's actually been like people that we can talk that actually have a direction. Like Jeremy Rao's been awesome. Joe Denneman's been awesome. I love getting those people once a week because their opinion actually has some value to what we're trying to do here.
Well, but if we have fillers, or if we just do one by ourselves, A, two things, we can control the time.
Yeah.
B, it gives us time to like kind of look out, because then we don't have to fulfill every episode with that 2 times a week. Now we went from having it 1 time a week to now that we have 2 guests every 2 weeks, or every week. And we've been fortunate, and that's nice. But as we progress, we're gonna have to learn that every day we're gonna have somebody to knock it out of the park, or that we have to put a time on.
Is your microphone on? I'm not messing with you this time.
Is it not working very well?
There it is. I think it is now.
Hold on 1 second.
But okay.
Sam.
Sam, can you hear me better now? Can you hear me better now? You're lying. I know you're lying.
I know.
Yeah.
Yep, I can hear you a little bit better.
All
right. There's another point I was gonna make too. I'm trying to get Nick Lachey. So far, I'm just gonna Andy Dufresne Nick Lachey. Do you know what that is?
Yep.
What is?
Constantly berate him until he.
Yeah, because so
that was a guess. I should be honest. That was a guess, but considering how persistent you've been, that's probably.
Well, the Andy Dufresne in Shawshank Redemption wrote a letter to the government or somebody to try to get books for their library in the prison. And I think he wrote them a letter a week every week, or like 2 letters a week, and then it became 3 until they finally just said, "Well, give us the books, so just leave us alone." But then he kept going, and then he got more books. So that's my hope with. Oh my God, man! Look at those!
Just once a podcast. I wanted to let you know that Luke the Truth Null is waiting.
Is he waiting? Should we let him in?
Yeah, should we wait? So I'm going to introduce him.
Yeah.
Go from there.
He showed up.
Yeah, and just go from there. We'll just the first little bit. I'll just be like, hey man, it's how it's kind of gonna go. Not expecting a whole lot. Chat about football. Move from there. Cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Let me know when you're good to go.
Luke the Truth.
All right. Ready?
I'm ready. Yes, sir.
All right. So now it is our pleasure for the Mike Brown Band, for Sam, for John. We're welcoming on our third guest, our number 3 count. 1, 2, 3, third guest in a row. We're incredibly fortunate, incredibly excited to have somewhat of a celebrity, from Saturday Night Live, season 43, I'm assuming. Or we're going to cut that part out, Sam. All right.
Great job, John.
We're going to cut that part out. All right. Ready? All right, it's Sam. My pleasure to introduce now Luke Null, former SNL cast member, Cincinnati's own, and lifelong Bengals fan. So welcome him on to the Mike Brown podcast. Luke, the truth, Null.
The truth.
Is it there? What's going on?
Yo, what's good?
Hey, how you doing?
He wore some Bengal attire. Of course, I should have.
Right.
Oh, I mean, I busted out my worst jersey that I own.
Oh, okay. It's wait. Okay. So I thought that was gonna go a different way because I was like, oh my God, he's wearing a Chris Henry jersey.
Slim jersey would be sweet. That would actually be cool.
Yeah.
I was like,
kind of hoping. So I'm
every year I buy one, and this is the worst one. This is the worst purchase ever made.
You can ask Sam. I have a difficult relationship with John Ross is because I hyped him up so much from watching college football. And I was like, this is just what we needed. This is the spark that's going to be great for Bengals football for the years to come. And I couldn't have been more wrong. And I just can't wait I hope that he does, with the news get traded this week. So maybe he can have a second chapter in his career, and then we can just kind of write it and be over with.
Yeah, there's plenty of guys that I like, kind of how you just described. Not necessarily I thought that they were like the missing piece, but guys that I was like, if they moved on, I would like Andy. Like I'm rooting for the Cowboys now just because Andy's there.
But when you watch that game, okay, so I thought it was just us, but then when you watch that game, you're like, oh, this is what people were ragging on us for. And it wasn't like I was like, oh yeah, it was just like my eyes were open on that game when I watched him play. It was really weird. It was really weird experience.
I don't know if you guys are recording. Are we recording already?
Yeah, we just kind of go.
We're
Sweet.
Yeah.
I mean, with Andy, it's always been. Does he have an offensive line? Does he have a second to make a read? Because he's not going to be able to. Like when any pressure is on Andy, he folds like a.
He does that little thing where he tries to stiff arm, get out of it, and then just throws it away.
Oh my! How many times? That's one thing that I'm like. I almost want Joe to have like 10% more Andy in him, where I'm like, don't die.
Oh yeah.
Because that Cowboys O-line, like they used to have a lot of their guys are hurt, so it's like, oh yeah, Dak Prescott can pirouette in the backfield and like make space, but it's like Andy can't do that, and he's not terrible if you give him a pocket. If you give him a pocket, he can win you games. If he's pressured, he's never going to win.
No, yeah.
Well, then the other thing is we tried bringing Frank Pollock over after the Cowboys released him, and like, and then we thought that would put the Band-Aid over. Yeah, we thought that would put the Band-Aid over letting go of Andrew Whitworth, which is the stupidest idea ever.
I mean, we just missed out. Like, the thing that kind of sucks is it seems like Marvin Lewis, when he was here, kind of realized, hey, this team is a contender and is going to the playoffs every year. When we had a great offensive line, like we can make, we can go lose in the wild card round. But it's like as soon as that O-line got bad, they missed on a couple of draft picks. You miss on Cedric Ogbuehi, Jake. You try to draft. You trade up for Russell Bodine. You draft Billy Price. None of we're 0 for 4 on high draft pick linemen, which sucks. Because it did at least show that they knew that they had to get linemen and still just
whiffed.
It just whiffed on a bunch.
Yeah, but then what you see in the second and third round is we draft talent that ends up panning out. And we develop those players that into everyday players like a Jermaine Pratt, a Tyler Boyd. We had Gio's been a lifer. But he was in the second round and. Right now,
second round, the Bengals have a great Joe Mixon.
Well, Tyler Boyd. Tyler Boyd. People don't realize that and this was right when we got gutted like Moneyball style. When we lost Mohamed Sanu, Marvin Jones Jr., and we're like, we need a wideout right now. And then they had that whole Corey Coleman, Will Fuller IV, Treadwell, and all these guys, Dotson. And I'm like, we got to get one of these guys. So then Washington moves up and takes one. Yeah, I did too. And then Washington trade up a guy. I'm like, well, we're screwed. And then in the second round, we're like, oh, we got to get Braxton Miller. I'm like, yeah, we're going to get him or Sterling Shepard at that point. And then we got Tyler Boyd. I'm like, who's Tyler Boyd? The dude is the most underrated slot receiver in the NFL, and it's almost
Awesome.
unfair watching him and Joe Burrow just go back and forth every game, and it's just like, who else on third down? He reminds me. I don't know if you get this. Do you think he reminds you of TJ Hushmanzada a little bit?
He's a lot like a Hoosh. He's not a burner, but he just catches everything.
Mm-hmm.
And he's
reliable.
just nasty. Takes a smack.
Yeah.
In the middle, gets
Yeah.
right back up. I felt bad for him because his rookie year, he was like a healthy scratch. Like Marvin Lewis, like benched him.
Yeah,
or something.
put him in the
I remember
doghouse.
like, oh, God, like here we go again. But I don't know. It is crazy if you look around the league. Like the Bengals, when it comes to receivers, we pretty much dunk on drafting receivers. Like we just
and the Bengals get such a bad rap from the media, and it's weird because only Bengals fans can sit here and be like scream but be silent because no one cares about the Cincinnati Bengals.
And nor should they.
Honestly, don't. Honestly, at this point, like, don't, because much like your tweets that I completely agree with, like, it is a condition to be a Bengals fan. Like last week against the Colts, which I think we're going to touch upon right now in transition, epitomizes what it means to be a Bengals fan. You're up 21-0, and then all of a sudden Phillip Rivers starts doing what Phillip Rivers does, and then at that point when it's 21-7, you're like, I texted my cousin John. I was like, we're going to lose this game now. It's over.
Oh,
like,
as soon as we went up 21-0, it just sucks that like I'm cheering for them and I'm getting excited, but I turn to my fiance and I'm like, we're certainly going to lose. She's like, you're up 21-0. I'm like, they'll lose. And my dad texted me. He goes, they're going to fuck it up. Like,
my dad's the opposite. That's the worst. My dad is the complete opposite.
See, it sucks though because they've trained us to not even be able to have fun when they're doing well
and enjoy it. Like
proven that they can't ever win, ever.
So there's two things I want to touch on real quick with you, Luke. So really real quick, just for a little bit of context here, you're from the Cincinnati area, went to Lakota East High School, correct? So I'm from Franklin, so just north on 75. We have 2 exits. It's not quite as prominent as Lakota schools.
Home of New York, by the way. One of the best clubs in Ohio.
Killing the game.
Yeah. And then, most people might know you from your time spent on SNL. Also, for a musical comedian standpoint, right? That's kind of your niche and how you got noticed, which is incredibly cool to have somebody from Cincinnati to follow. My buddy and I, my roommate in college, Dustin Martin, was the one that actually first reached out to you and actually kind of made me aware of yourself and that we actually have somebody, a foot soldier, Bengals Army out there. And
there's dozens of us.
Yeah.
They're hiding, man. They're just so silent.
So
and that's just so hard.
Yeah, so it's incredibly, like you say, nobody should really, the team doesn't really give anybody a reason to care, but we're just so glad that we have folks like yourself that are still out fighting the battle. And even though we know that, like you said, we're trained to lose. We're trained to know what to expect.
Yeah. My fiance always tries to get me to not tweet during the game. She's like, you're so negative. And I'm like, I'm not negative. I am a diehard fan, and I do watch it as many games as I can. And it is one of those things. It's like I'm reacting in the moment, and in the moment, it's always bad. So it is gonna come across as negative.
And I was telling my dad, because my dad's like
he's optimistic. He's a positive Bengals fan.
He is the most positive, because he was there in '88. So anything reminds him of '88. And I'm like, it's not 1988. It is 2000. And so this is the thing. So I call him, we're up 21-0. He's like, man, it's got to feel good. Finally they give us a time to break. I'm like, and it never changes. And we've seen millions of these games. I'm like, Dad, we're going to lose the game. And he's like, no, you're not. You're just being negative. And then I'm just watching Phillip Rivers just throw this throw. And it's so hard talking to him because his point of view is so optimistic. And I'm with you. I'm so dad. Yeah, and I do. No, you don't, because it's that's so sweet of you, man. But like, as you're talking
it's
about,
so
your
disappointing.
Tweets,
it's like your little brother. Like you have to be nice to him. Like you have to kind of address him with gloves on. Like, hey, listen, this team is just not going to be good. I'm sorry. Like what you're expecting.
But with you, like you're 100%.
My expectation wasn't that they would be good this year. You know what I mean? Like weeks like the Ravens game, that's what I expect. I
Yep, we do too.
expect to just get thrashed. It hurts more to be up 21-0, and that actually just shows like not only are they not ready to compete this year, but even when they are having success, we have a bad coach. That was the first time I ever went, I think Zach Taylor has no idea what he's doing.
Sam, what did I tell you?
That was the first time.
Yeah, immediately I was like, he doesn't know how to coach. This team does not know
This is
how
the
to
worst
win.
timing to hear this. The worst time to hear. The reason this is the worst time. I watch Big Wednesday. I don't know if you pay attention to Big Wednesday. I call it Big Wednesday. It's Zach Taylor and Joe Burrow press conference day.
I always watch it. Yep. I don't watch it live, but I'll watch the clip after.
Yeah. So I always call it Big Wednesday. I'm like, here we go. And I'm watching Zach Taylor. I'm like, this is the problem. He makes you believe. He's so good at just like.
He says the
right
right
being
thing.
My dad every time. Makes you believe. And then the whole time I'm just thinking, no, I'm not. And then I'm just like in this trance and I'm like, we're back in business this week. And then
you can only say, he does say the right thing and he is good in the interviews, but man, at what point are you like, hey, like, don't get me wrong. Like a lot of people trash the offensive line coaching. What's his name? Jim Turner, whoever we have right now. Everyone's like, gotta fire Jim Turner. It's like,
yeah.
Dude, you could have the best offensive line coach of all time. And if you give him the talent we have, they're not going to do that well. No. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sorry, we just don't have the guys. I don't care what scheme you're trying to run. It's like, you try to run the ball. Yeah, you'll get 1 yard every time. We have Joe Mixon. He's awesome.
Put Samaje Perine in there. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It does not matter, and it's not gonna change all year. But that's what sucks is that last game, the offensive line, from a number standpoint, held up great against the number one defense in the NFL. They were
number one. I forgot they were.
They're number one, and it's like, okay, they held up pretty well, and we still lose because you have a bad coach. If your coach is up 21-0, Marvin Lewis, unfortunately, wins that game. Yep. Marvin Lewis.
And the thing is that Marvin Lewis is so good at, he got great coaches like Mike Zimmer, Hugh Jackson, Leslie Frazier, Marvin Lewis with a defensive mind, and Jay Gruden, like all these guys, Vance Joseph, all these guys went on to be head coaches. But people can trash Marvin Lewis all they want, but he knew how to get personnel in there that could be successful and at least contend in football games and hopefully in the postseason with them.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. And I'm not a Marvin apologist, but if we had Marvin the last 2 years, we're not getting Joe Burrow. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I thought Marvin's time was after the 2015 playoff.
I mean, Marvin's and the thing is that one's bad too. It's like we went 12-4 that year. If Andy doesn't get hurt, we're not even playing in the wild card.
We were at the game he got hurt at too. We were at the game when he got his thumb broken in Cincinnati.
Oh
yeah, we were there.
That year I was at one of my best buddies when I was living in Chicago and doing comedy in Chicago. I'm still in a fantasy league with all the Chicago comics, and everyone's from all over. But one of my best buddies is from Buffalo. So that 2015 year, we went to Buffalo to see the Bengals play the Bills. And
that's where Tyler Eifert had that touchdown. Marvin Jones had that sick catch in double coverage.
I was the only Bengal fan as far as the eye could see. There was like no other Bengals fans there, and I was having the time of my life. It was so.
And were they nice to you? Because we went in 2013 when we went. No, my dad and I went in 2013, man, and I thought we were gonna get mugged because we won on an overtime field goal. That was when they had
that one.
You remember that game? So AJ Green hit that freaking awesome TD. I love how you remember these games. That's how I associate my life with. But AJ Green hit that corner touchdown. Somehow Buffalo ends up coming back. Of course, we let him in the game, and then we hit that field goal. Mike Nugent, cat scratch fever, and at the buzzer, and we walked down like I think we might get mugged.
I was rooting. I have a rule where if I'm at the game and we're winning by less than 2 scores, I'll still cheer even if we're winning. Like hard, once it's going like 3 scores, like blowout territory to me. So I'll like shut the hell up for a minute. But during the Bills, we were just like killing them, and it was
Yeah.
awesome. And I was definitely cheering and running my mouth. And my buddy's a Bills fan, and I start getting dinged with peanuts in the back of my head, like people are throwing shit at me, and this guy just starts screaming, "Shut the fuck!"
Yeah.
He's screaming at me, and I turn around and I'm drunk on Buffalo Trace, and I'm like, "Man, I'm not your enemy. Like, I'm a Bengal fan. Like, why are you hating on me, dude? Like, there's no reason to yell at me." And my friend Zach turns around and he's like, "Dude, it's not like he's wearing a Patriots jersey." And he's like, "Phil Miller? Phil?" He literally knew the guy who was screaming at me and heckling. Like, that was the very Bills. And like, I kind of love the Bills. Like, the Bills are kind of like our AFC brethren.
Oh yeah.
Now that Andy Dalton brought him in the playoffs, but they'd still hate us if we went over there. It's Bills Mafia. And then I went to the.
No, it's Bills Mafia, but it is. I can find happiness for them. I think that they are a similar franchise to.
Oh, they're just as
the
miserable
Bengals.
as us.
Yeah.
Yeah, the fan base, we can definitely relate there for sure.
Before we transition, Luke, get this. So I was at a Thursday night game, the Thursday night game in Cleveland that we end up losing this year. So get this. This preseason year, the Browns fans are trying to talk crap to us. And I'm like, okay, if there's one team that has no business talking crap to Bengals fans, it is the Browns fans. And I even said that, I'm like, what are you guys talking shit to us about? You guys have done, like, literally, if there's a worse franchise in the league, it's you guys. And then they're like, well, you're the away team. I'm like, I don't care. Like, if you're a football fan, you have to know these things. So being an away fan is an interesting experience, but Cleveland is probably the worst.
No, so Luke, real quick, I have to ask this question: Is your fiance a Browns fan by chance?
She is technically a Browns fan. She's not a huge Browns fan. Her family is. She's not. I've kind of like just railroaded her into being a passive Bengals fan, but she's a big time LeBron fan. We're LeBron stands out here. So now anywhere LeBron goes, she's from Akron. So
the reason I ask is actually I believe she's from Greene, Ohio. My fiance is from Greene, Ohio as well. I believe that your name is Caitlin, right?
Caitlin, yep.
Yeah, Caitlin Schwartz. I know that's really Schultz. I'm sorry, really weird that I knew that. But my fiance is Hannah Black.
Okay, I'm sure. I mean, Greene is the kind of town where you know everyone.
Right. So that's weird. I mean, I thought that was kind of weird that we had that similarity. And then we're both from Southwest Ohio too. But the one thing Hannah did mention, she was like, "Yeah, I think from what I remember, I think their family was big Browns fans." So
her family is. They are big Browns. And the thing is, I root for the Browns 4 games a year. Like, I think whenever they're playing the Ravens and Steelers, I'm always rooting for the Brownies. And I've never been more certain every time they play the Browns and the Ravens and Steelers that they're definitely going to lose, just like they did both times this year so far. They just got blown out embarrassingly. Mm-hmm. And honestly, the Browns of this year are like the Bengals of 2011 to 2015, where it's like, you show up big when no one's watching. You know what I mean? It's when the lights are on and people actually pay attention. When you play against the big boys, you just get throttled. It's like, you got, and I would bet money and need to stop betting money that the Browns are going to make the playoffs this year. The Browns will make the playoffs. They're going to run their mouths, and they're just going to get destroyed in the wild card. Just absolutely lit up. It is decided. It is written. It's gonna happen. It's just who is it that they're gonna have to play that's gonna destroy them?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I really took some enjoyment. Like, I even put money on them to cover against Pittsburgh because I was kind of
horrible.
I was
never bet on the Browns.
I know. I was but I'm like, man, they look like different.
Unless they're playing the Bengals, then put money on them. They'll somehow have a great game, like Baker Mayfield did on Thursday.
Joe Burrow covers.
Guys, I don't know how you guys are feeling. Or, I mean, watching this Bengal team, give me a final record prediction. Like, how many wins do we get in your mind?
You want me to go first?
Take this one, John? Yeah, please, because mine was. I'll be honest in what my beginning of the year was, which I'm kind of ashamed of now, but I'll give my new one.
Well, if you factor in the tie, that means I have to do math. So
how many wins? Just how many wins do you think 6. We're still going to get?
I think we can get 6.
So at the beginning of the
Wow.
year,
At 6. And the reason why is the
Wow.
New York Jets effect. Last year, the Jets were god awful the first 6-10 games of the year, and then they rattled off sneakily 4 or 5 wins towards the end of the year, and they were
That's
just
a Marvin Lewis effect, is what
right,
it is.
right. So I'm just thinking, I'm like, if we can just rattle off a couple wins towards the end of the year, catch teams when they're not really playing as seriously, then yeah, sure, why not? Why not 6 wins? That's still going to be a top 10, even potentially a top 5 draft pick. I think between 5 and 6 is respectable. That would keep
Rocky,
Zach.
like,
That would keep
That
Zach
is
Taylor.
respectable, and that's absolutely not going to happen.
whoa, Luke!
It's
Okay.
have you guys been watching?
Okay, yeah, but we are allowed. You're allowed to be. So when you're a fan and you're this bad, can you be optimistic? And that's really what I'm trying to be. I'm trying to stay as like, I deal with this guy every week, and it's like an emotional roller coaster. I have to rein him in, and then also like keep him real too. So I just try to stay like Switzerland, right in the middle.
All right, so Sam, I'm guessing that you thought we were like going to the playoffs this year or something.
Luke, I think I've had us going to the playoffs since 2016 because I've been desperate since we lost that playoff game. Like I went through 2 weeks of depression, like literal depression after that 2015 season. I'm like, we just have to get back. We have to get back. Oh my God. So
that's the worst. That's the worst sports moment I've had in my life.
Yeah.
That's why I've been so desperate to get to the playoffs. I'm like, I just need to get that feeling off my back. I'm having to relive it now. Oh my God.
You know what though? It reminds me like the last 5 years have just been terrible for Bengal fans, but it's just been a really hard team to watch and root for just because there's not a lot to like. But I tell you what, it reminds me of 2010, back when we had like the T-Ocho show, and it was just a dumpster fire 4-12.
Nuts. But before the season, man, that was probably next to Joe Burrow's this season, which I'll give into my prediction. That was the most hyped I'd ever been for a season. Like sincerely ever been hyped for a season.
The thing is,
after the 2009 season.
If you go back and coming off that 2009 season where they swept the division and they like had a great year and then kind of just farted in the playoffs and just that's a forgotten Bengals playoff loss. That 2009 Jets loss is like, what an embarrassing Mark Sanchez. All right, I'm not trying to get it.
And the worst was before the pregame, they're like, and Mark Sanchez was Carson Palmer's ball boy. I'm like, well, that's even worse. He lost to the ball boy. Like, what do we? And everybody. And the thing is, everybody that like, okay, before we lost the playoff game in 2005 at home, Carson Palmer wasn't there. So it's Carson wasn't there. They literally had everybody in the line. They were 8-0 at home.
Everybody.
They swept the division, whatever. No, they didn't. No, they lost to Houston. They weren't 8-0 at home. That was in 2015. But they swept the division.
2013, they were 8-0 at home.
Yeah, and God, and then we lose to the Chargers.
That was
anyway, back to your point. It was just that was like a forgotten because everybody was there. Lavernius Cole, Cedric Benson was coming off a great year, and then again, just you said farted in the playoffs. And I think that's where comes my optimism. So like last year, I had us going like 9-7, 10-6 because here, and this is why I go there. And I really want you to hear this because there is some validity to why I feel this way. And John and I talk about this all the time. They always have some outside the offensive line, some of the most talented rosters in football. Like you can
definitely have more talent than the wins that they accrued.
Yes, agree. And then on top of that, it's like in the 2017 season, we started out 0-3. Then we beat the Browns. And then I was at the Buffalo Bills game in Cincinnati. We're 2-3. And then you look at the Steelers and they lose to the Eagles. So there's still opportunities. You're like, you can like actually, you can make a run. The way your schedule is set up, like especially this year, we have New York, Washington.
Yeah.
Someone else that's really crappy.
They're going to lose to one of those two though.
And that's the thing that sucks, man. Like, it's just the tale being a Bengals fan. You have all this optimism. It's like, you could actually do this. You could actually make a run. But it's just like, that's just not what it's like. And we haven't, as fans, been able to be this comfortable since 2015, where we've just been able to sit back and just everything hanging out like, yeah, we're going to win this game. We're playing the Browns. We're going to win.
The reason I brought up 2010 is because after that dumpster fire of a year where we lost like 10 straight, it was like 4-12, terrible year. Even though those teams, even though they were terrible, were still pretty fun because they were putting up points. Our defense was just trash. I remember
the Cardiac Cats year.
No, it's 2009.
No.
2009,
2010 was
okay.
the T Ocho show.
It was
Yeah.
the Ocho.
T.O.
Get your
Cho.
popcorn ready.
But after that was like an absolute like dumpster fire of Carson holding out. We get rid of Ocho Cinco. We trade Ocho. T.O.'s out of there. So like I remember like ESPN, Andy Dalton and AJ Green's rookie year, they were calling the Bengals to go 0-16. Like,
Yep,
I
my
still
dad said,
have
yeah,
like USA
yeah.
Today 0-16, and I really did adjust my expectations after that beatdown of a terrible year. I was like, you know what? This year, I'm just going to expect to be the worst. And then that 2011 season was so fun because
Wasn't
my
it?
expectations were so low. The fact that they squeaked out 9-7 and went to the playoffs and got their shit rocked by Houston, I didn't care. Like,
Which
I
they
thought
could have won that
was
game.
one
They
of my
were up
favorite
7-0.
years.
Yeah.
That was such a fun year, even though I went back and watched it on Game Pass. Like, I was bored.
I love this kid. He gets it. He just freaking gets it, man. Like,
I'm diehard, man. I watch every
you
game.
are. That is so true.
But that's where we're at right now. The thing is, we have to, as a fan base, just for our own mental health, you have to just kind of expect that we're going to do terrible. That way, it's a pleasant surprise if we accidentally win a couple games, because it ain't going to improve this year. And it's probably, unless they do make some major moves on the offensive line and probably defensive line, it's going to be the exact same shit next year. It just sucks because he's lost the locker room now. All the defensive guys are tweeting and
according to today, locker room's just fine. Like, we got all the guys we need. Everybody's going with the right attitude. And like, what are you talking about?
But
also in the same flip of the coin, like you said, the hardest part about being a Bengals fan is you watch Joe Burrow and you're like, there's so much to be excited about. Like, it's almost like a tease. Like, you could win these games. Like a Philadelphia game, and John and I talked about this before we even got on, like how we're going to discuss this. We could sincerely be 4-2 right now. And that's the hardest part, is you kind of have to adjust your expectations to being like, just try to enjoy the year. Just enjoy the year. Enjoy the development. But then
are you guys noticing?
Does not know how to win. We had the opportunity against the Chargers, and then we give that one to the ref. The ref made a poor call at the end of the game. But still, Joe Burrow showed that.
Fat Randy.
That one excuse. But then you go to Philadelphia. You kick 3 instead of getting 7 and keeping your foot on the gas. What happens? You end up getting to a tie. And then you go into this last week. We spot you 21 points on the best defense statistically in football, and you guys still find a way after everybody in the media is calling Phillip Rivers washed up, noodle arm. He makes really poor decisions. They're calling for Jacoby Brissett. We make him look like an absolute freaking MVP candidate. He's back from the grave. He's going to win. This is the Phillip Rivers that the Colts shelled out $25 million for. That happened against our team. And so I just – now you're starting to shift focus to, okay, yeah, Zach Taylor probably needs another 6-8 weeks to really figure it out. But we have the talent now to win now. We should be 3-3 at the very least.
In contending for a playoff. It should be like the 2011 season, sincerely. Honestly, it should feel like that.
Miami right now. And Miami's getting all the love, and we're getting shit on.
It sucks just because, we're in a division that's become a murderer's row, and now we're the Browns, and it sucks. But it's like, man, I feel bad because you go back and you watch like the first couple games, like even though Joe didn't really put up numbers in that Chargers game, you're seeing this kid like all the hype.
Remember at the end when he's like doing this and he's zigzagging a line, he's calling everybody together. I'm like, my God, this is so much fun.
Those first couple games where he's like really rolling out and trying to put the team on his back, and now the Bengals have just like broken his spirit. The last 2 games, he rightfully looks shook and scared, and like he's, you know what I mean? Like he's a rookie. Obviously, he's going to make some mistakes, like that clutch pick at the end of the game. That sucks. But it's like, he's going to make mistakes like that, and I knew he's going to, but it just sucks that the Bengals are already like beating it into his head. Like, don't be clutch. You're going to be killed. You're going to get sacked 7 or 8 times a game. Like, I'm genuinely afraid he's not going to finish the year because he's going to get hurt.
Yeah, I think everybody is. I think everybody's shocked right now that he hasn't been, seriously. I mean,
he's going to get hurt, you guys. It's going to be so sad. I feel very bad for him.
And if we don't beat Cleveland this week, then
Here's
you're
the
looking
thing.
at.
I think we will beat Cleveland this
I
week.
think so. I mean, every week.
I'm the opposite now. I was like, last week, I'm like, we're going to beat the Colts. And then I was like, we're going to beat the Colts and then we're going to beat the Browns. I'm not going to put and this sounds so bad because I'm such an optimistic fan. I'm like, I'm not going to believe that we can win this game because I do that. And then it's just like, you know how hard it is? You know how hard it is for your heart to do this every single effing week.
I know. And I just said, like, adjust your expectations and don't expect much, which I always, when I'm watching, they always trick you into being like, but look, we're up 21-0. Like, why doubted? Why did you doubt us? And I'm like, maybe they were good.
Yeah.
They just have proven me right too many times. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be right. I want the Bengals to prove me wrong. And they never do.
Yeah. Well, then we look ahead a little bit. We get Cleveland this weekend, which I think Luke and I will go ahead and say that they're going to win. Sam, you can be
I think this is going to be the game of the year where there's no reason why we should win. And I think this is one where Cleveland is going to reveal themselves to kind of be still the Browns. You know what I mean?
But then we get Tennessee.
They're going to destroy us.
We'll probably get whacked.
See, I'm the opposite. This is so weird. I think we're going to beat Tennessee. I really do. Because it's not one of those – if you look statistically in the past, the last time we lost to Tennessee was because Vontaze Burfict didn't get on that tackle towards the end when they ended up driving like 80 yards on the field. But I know. But that's just like the perfect reason why the Bengals – and it's weird because when it came to the Ravens, like the Ravens are such a powerhouse, and it's because they have this quarterback that can do all this moving around and throw the tight end. But it's
they
against these
played
weird
pretty
teams.
well. The defense played pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And but then when we play teams like it's like it's never with the Bengals, it's never balanced. Either the offense is playing really well and the defense is playing really shitty, or it's the opposite. The defense is playing really well and the offense is playing really shitty. But Tennessee is like one of those weird games, man, where you're like, it will give you hope because they're going to contend with them. And I know that people say the Bengals suck. Like they suck, but they don't suck. But here's the thing is they're very rarely do they lose 38-7. They're always contending in games. They're always close enough to win the game. And then they just crush your heart, which makes it even worse. And I sincerely think that we're going to contend with Tennessee. And I don't know why, because we've only lost to them once in the last 7 years or
here's the thing.
9 years.
If you watch Tennessee play this year, the Tannehill Assance is in full effect.
Dude.
That dude is playing lights out. And Derrick Henry is a freight train. He is going to destroy our defense. And their defense is so good. Like
I couldn't echo that more perfectly. I think Tennessee, I put out a tweet on Sunday. Like personally, the AFC is so loaded, but that top tier of just Kansas City, Baltimore, and everybody else, I think Pittsburgh and Tennessee have definitely this season jumped right into that conversation. And I'll be honest, I think Pittsburgh looks like the best team in football from complete standpoint.
I hate it. I hate
it. They're never bad. Even when they're
never bad.
Tennessee has this one X factor that no other team in the NFL has, and he wears number 22. And if Ryan Tannehill continues not to make mistakes and make clutch throws like he did the other day on Sunday with 7 seconds left on A.J. Brown in the corner of the end zone, Tennessee is just going to be a freaking problem. The AFC is going to be so much fun at the end of the year. Unfortunately, the Bengals probably aren't going to be in the middle.
No, we're not. But I do think what you said earlier, we might pull a Marvin Lewis and win a couple games at the end of the year just to make sure we don't have a top draft pick. You know what I mean?
And then also to give people hope for the end of the year. Again, my dad, like there's like this, like if you go on YouTube and you go on like 96, 97, the tagline's always like getting back to better or the jungle's coming back. I'm like, it's always set up for mediocrity.
See, if we're sitting at 2-3-1, then you can still kind of be doing the mental math of like, if we win this, maybe we'll get to 7-8-1 and we'll be able to. That Colts loss solidified. This team is this year, guys. They're losers, and it's probably better. Like I hate being one of those guys who's already thinking about the draft, but it's
like every Cincinnati fan. Like
that game, watching that Colts game, took a baseball bat to my any hope of salvaging this as a good year in any way. I'm like, okay, they're gonna lose double-digit games for sure.
Yeah.
I hope they get that Penei Sewell guy from that tackle, that like blue
From
chip.
Oregon?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I'm hoping they get that dude. And now I'm seeing like in order to get him, we would have to pick like third.
Well, so here's the thing. I'm looking at our schedule. We got Tennessee, a bye week, Pittsburgh, probably
Gonna get rocked.
Pittsburgh.
Gonna get rocked. Gonna somehow be in the news during the bye week for something bad. Just wait.
Yeah.
Something will happen. Pittsburgh. I told a bunch of my buddies this year my expectations were low. I knew we were gonna have a losing year, but that I was excited for Joe and that there's hope for the future.
Oh my
right?
gosh.
But I'm like, if we only went, like my original prediction was 6 wins. It's lower now. I said if we get 6 wins and one of those wins is against the Steelers, it's a winning year.
Yep.
It's like, but it ain't happening this year. It ain't
Well,
happening.
maybe in week 15. And maybe they
Monday
shut it down
night
by then.
football, baby.
Nope. And we're not playing on Monday night. They're gonna yank that game from us.
No, they can't. Unfortunately, they can't. Like if it was a Sunday night game, like when we had 2011 or 2010, it was supposed to be the Chargers Bengals.
You're right.
Which we ended up winning. So if it was Sunday night, no doubt that game would be ripped up.
Oh,
ripped under us.
they can't take us off?
No,
Oh,
that's
beautiful.
guaranteed. No.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, we made it.
I'm almost to the point where I'm like, bench Joe for the Steelers. They're gonna try to hurt him. They're gonna.
Yeah.
I'm
But
like, let
I want
Ryan
nothing
Finley
of
get
TJ Watt and
shellacked.
Bud Dupree. I want nothing to do with that. And then the way that they're using Minkah Fitzpatrick, and I hate to talk about the Steelers more than I want to, but if you're not already kind of on notice about that team, they are on fire. And the last thing I want is our rookie quarterback to experience that in any threshold whatsoever. Yeah, Myles Garrett's one thing. The rest of them I don't want any part of.
It's gonna be ugly. So wait, after the Steelers, what we got? The Giants.
Then we have. This is where it gets interesting. This is where I said we could log.
This is where my dad was like, "We're going in the November to remember again. We're going 4-0 or
Washington, we got
something."
Washington, the
Maybe.
New York Giants, Miami, Dallas. 4 winnable games. We could
Four-
go 3-1.
Especially now but the Danny's gonna come in and just torch us for like 400 yards.
Oh, Andy's gonna come in and just kick our teeth in. Just watch.
And then we have the Steelers on that Monday nighter. And then at Houston. Houston's probably in a rebuild, so that's a potential win. And then Baltimore at the end of the year, and who knows what what seeding wise, they might not even play. So we might get to play their JV squad, which again, that's not entirely.
That's gonna be a tight one,
or seed win.
21-17.
But
Bengals.
so that's where I see the 5 to 6 wins. But I think that 5 to 6 win, let's say 3 to 5 win area, that puts us in the position for the 3 to 5 pick spot where we need to be to get the best tackle or guard on offensive side of the ball.
I think we win 2 more games this year, and I calling us to win
This week.
this week. I think we beat the Browns, and just to be able to have a little like fuck you. I do think we beat the Browns. I think then once our hopes are back up, now it's like, look, we beat a team with a winning record. Like, why can't we be in the mix? Then we will expose. Then we'll get destroyed by the Titans, destroyed by the Steelers, and by that point, we will get to that part of the schedule where it's like, guys, the Bengals have more talent than these other teams that we're playing, and that will be the most depressing stretch for us because we're gonna lose to either the Giants or the Washington football team.
Yeah.
We shouldn't. We are better than them, but our coach is going to reveal himself to not be able to get it done. I'm sorry I'm being so negative, but I just know it in my bones. We're not.
When I get off this phone call,
them.
I'm going to be the most positive person in the world. Like when I'm with realistic Bengals fans who get it, I'm like, okay, I'm with you. But then I got the phone and I'm like, it's just in me. It's that red and black, or the orange and black in me.
They've
that
hurt
I'm
me
just
too
like
much.
here. I know, man.
I want to be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I just know I'm not.
All right. Well, that's perfect. That's perfect.
One question. So first of all, like you have no idea how much this means because we have, as you can see, our huge packed, kind of like a Bengal stadium, 16 followers on our podcast, and you jumped right in. Appreciate that. And one of the reasons it was set up from our buddy Dustin, and one thing that he wanted me to ask you and I kind of am going to alter this question. Besides Ocho Cinco, who is the most entertaining player, like whether comedy because they were just so weird and so bad and played so bad, but someone that gave you the most entertainment as a football, like as a Bengal fan?
I mean,
Besides Ocho, because I saw you got some Ocho Cinco's. I got some of those too, man. Got them at a
love
flea
me some
market.
Ocho Cinco's. I tell you what, as far as just like pure entertainment value, it was hard to beat Pac-Man antics.
God, wasn't it?
Pac-Man was pretty fun. Like when Pac-Man had like those 3 years of him being like actually a top 10 corner in the NFL.
Yeah.
It was a great, like, because I feel like they don't do the locker room. Obviously, this year is different, but like I feel like they don't do the locker, like at their locker kind of interviews anymore. I think that's not a thing anymore. But I think they just were, there's no video
Thanks,
at least.
COVID.
But there's some great Pac-Man post-game interviews at his locker, like that time when he was
we
doing
actually
the
got
trash
two of
can.
them. So the guy we're interviewing tomorrow, Jeremy Rao, who's actually a part of Big Wednesday, he still talks about the garbage. And then we talked to Joe Denneman, who he was interviewing him when he called out Mike Nugent after he missed that field goal that we tied in 2014. And I figured you're going to go either with one of the bad boys of Cincinnati, with either Vontez or Pac-Man.
I won't go Vontez. I will say, though, like, don't get me wrong, I'm glad that I don't have to root for Vontez Perfect anymore because he is, I think, bad for the game. But, again, he had 3 years where he was just a bulldozer. And people were scared.
Yes.
And they should have been.
Every Bengals fan is agreeing on that.
We finally had that piece to go up against Pittsburgh and Baltimore and just be like, yeah, okay, run the ball right at them, see how it goes. And
how do you feel about them? How do you feel about them like benching Gino and Carlos this year?
I think it feeds into my point. Like, listen to tomorrow's podcast because I'm going to go off on a rant. I wanted to make sure that we gave your time as much as we could, but the coaching aspect of it, why piss off the people that have been through the
Gino doesn't even talk and he's upset.
They've been at the highest highs and they're here with you on the lowest lows for the past 2 seasons, have been your biggest advocates, they've been the biggest ambassadors as far as developing some of that young talent, getting Carl Lawson and Sammy Hubbard to where they are. And I can't believe that they're allowing those voices in the locker room do this. And that's the only thing that's changed is coaching. Marvin's teams didn't do that even when we were bad. I mean, but also go ahead.
Marvin's guilty of having old guys play longer than they should have. A lot of Pecco snaps where it's like, do I love Pecco? Absolutely.
I love that energy.
But was Pecco a liability for the last 2 years that he started? For sure. He was not. He was just getting
Would you compare
pushed
Carl
around.
Lawson to Domenico Pecco right now?
Would I what?
Would you compare it, like where Carl Lawson or Carl
Gino
Dunlap is to like Pecco, or where Gino is?
Gino's coming back from an injury, so I think he's a little bit more of like they're not playing him as much because I think they're working him back in kind of thing. Whereas Carlos just looks like he's slow and hasn't, you know what I mean? Like I love Carlos Dunlap, one of my all-time favorite Bengals, but it sucks when I'm like, that's one of the things I kind of do agree. Like if you're not getting it done, dude, then you're going to go on like this isn't Marvin Lewis. Like, we're not going to start Michael Johnson for years, even though he's got zero, you know what I mean? It's just like, I actually kind of like, if you're not producing, you're not in there. You know, we just don't have the guys.
And there's 11 million reasons why I'm okay with Carlos Dunlap not being there next year. Like 11 million reasons.
I just think if your guys are going to be this bad, I mean, at least let him play. I mean, to have the rotation between Sam Carl and Dunlap instead of just yanking him. I mean, he earned a little bit more respect than that, or at least what seems like there was an effective communication between the coaching staff and them, other than, hey, you're just off the depth chart, or you're number 2 or 3 on the depth chart this week. I think they need a little bit more than that. That's, I guess, my point towards it. But I definitely
I'm sorry. You really follow this freaking team. Like you really know. Like it's so cool. Like it's it hurts because it's like then I know what you're going through. But
Yeah, it's
you
bad.
really follow this team, man.
It's to say it's a waste of time is actually downplaying it, because a waste of time would mean like a net neutral. It's like, no, it's actively like detrimental to my mental and physical health
Yes.
to be paying attention and rooting for like, I wish I could, I really genuinely wish I could hypnotize myself, check out for this year and check back in next year when the hope is alive again. But it's like, no, I'm going to watch and get my hopes up and then just see them get hit with a shovel in the face 10 more times, 11 more times.
And we'll be here to talk about it. We're here. If you ever need to voice your reasoning or just get stuff off your chest, we're here to listen and empathize.
Yeah, there's not a lot of Bengals fans out here in LA, so yeah.
I'm one. I'm in Burbank.
Are you? Nice.
Yeah. So I love that 10 a.m. kickoff, man. Like waking up and then freaking just like I take my puppy swimming at like 8 to 9. Listen to the pregame of Dave Lapp, who I could. That's another
love
topic.
Lapp.
Just listen to that guy.
Love
Lapp.
him.
I mean, like you look at Greg Cook and they're like, gosh, guys.
He's gonna get Greg Cook.
It's like, and when Ken Anderson and I were playing, you had guys just like, that's where the rubber meets the road, Dan. So you listen to him.
You know what I love about Dave Lapham too is that I feel like on national like televised games, obviously those guys are supposed to not pick a side. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
I love that Dave Lapham is like the biggest homer ever, and I also like.
Go Gino!
Whenever he gets excited, it fires me up. But also, I like when he's like, "That's embarrassing." Like, that can't happen.
Wait, like a penalty. Oh God, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I love this guy.
I love when he's like, you can't beat yourself. You can't. Bengals are out there playing against the Browns and themselves this week. It's like I like that he is the biggest hype man and he'll shit on them. When they deserve it.
But like another thing I was gonna ask is how much Joe Burrow merchandise do you have? I have a pillow even. And I think I'm up to 9 shirts right now. How much do you got?
I went to OU, so I remember my fiance's dad, who was a big Buckeye fan too. Go figure. He was literally talking to me. He's like, there's a kid at Athens High School right now that's like tearing it up. He's going to go to OSU. They're really scout. And I'm listening. I'm like, how do you know about Athens high school football? Which is just funny thinking back, like that was Joe Burrow. And I was in college while he was in high school, or my brother was.
Right.
But it was, I don't remember what you asked, but
I was gonna say how much Joe Burrow.
I got a jersey.
Yeah.
My brother got me a jersey for my birthday, and I'll tell you what. Normally, this is the only other jersey I bought of a rookie of our first round pick. But the Joe Burrow one, I was like genuinely like, no, this is. I love this kid already.
Right.
Yeah,
I did the same thing. I'm waiting.
I feel bad for him. I feel bad for him.
I do and I don't.
I do. Yeah, I'm with you.
I hate that he's getting hit. I hate that he's getting hit so much. I really do. But at the same
losing
time,
so much.
I've never been this excited for a quarterback.
I think another thing, Luke, it comes down to like we're not used to having good things. Like Bengals fans, it's hard to like accept a good thing because like we don't deserve it. Everybody else does. When we get it, it's kind of like that expectation. Like, and I'm gonna ask Jeremy Roud tomorrow. Do you think he's going to leave in 5 years? Just to like give me an idea. Like if it's going to happen, I want to be prepared for it. Because as a Bengals fan, you have to prepare for these things. Like it's just
too early
perfect for him to Because like I'm already looking at like New Orleans quarterback situation. I'm like, well, if they don't have a quarterback in 5 years, is he going to go back to Louisiana and play?
They're going to throw a big bundle of money at him, I think. But I'll tell you what.
We're already talking about this his rookie year. That's what we do.
I think it's too early to talk about that kind of stuff, but I will say he doesn't like losing. And if we keep doing what we're doing right now for 4 more years, absolutely get him out of here. Like let him go win somewhere.
That being said, the Colts were the same way we were like in 1998, and they got this prodigy who went 3-13 and almost threw 30 interceptions in his first year, got killed. And then next year they went 10-6 and went to the playoffs. And then all of a sudden they have a new stadium. They have a more rejuvenated fan base. the team is just, I mean, now Indianapolis is synonymous with the AFC, and they're an organization that is respectable. And that happened all over the course of 13
Well,
years.
they also have a better organization than we had,
But they were ran by a
99.
drunk for a long time. I mean, Irsay, Mike Brown might not want to open up the pocketbook, but at least he's not, in jail every so often.
It's also really sad that the first year of my life where the Bengals actually do open up the pocketbook and go buy some big name free agents, they all get hurt and they all.
Remember Antonio Bryant when we signed him for 4 years, $28 million, and then he gets hurt, and it's like, golly, man, like, no, don't stop doing this. This is something we're going to need next year when we need to sign an offensive tackle, or we're going to need to sign a linebacker. Like, don't stop doing this because this is a good thing and it's going to help. And I think if there's one resounding factor that's going to contribute to that, it's going to be Joe Burrow, because even TJ Hushmanzada said this on Jeff Hobson's podcast. I honestly believe in this. Did you? Of course you did, man. God, I love that. He said when Cincinnati's winning, it is one of the most electric cities in the world. And that is the truth. And it's so much fun to see, because when you're at that stadium and you hear the Guns N' Roses strum of the guitar, chills run down your spine. I'm like, and that's when they're winning, man. There's no better feeling when the Bengals are in contention and that stadium is packed with orange and black. And they have proven when they're winning, they are a profitable market. And I think that that's what Joe Burrow brings and can bring.
I do think
I love that you watch that podcast, man. That is so cool.
I sign up for all the punishment. I'll tell you what else sucks too. You know what else sucks is that I'm such a big fan. And I remember back to the 5 years in a row where we were winning games and going to the playoffs every year. I could not ingest more coverage and sports talk. And it just sucks when they lose so much for so many years in a row. When they lose, I'm like, all right, not listening to anything this week. Just shut it all out. And then eventually as the week goes on, I'm like, all right, let's see what they're saying this week.
We got Epics on right now with Carson, and let's turn that on. We got Joe Burrow mic'd up. I'm going to sign up for one of those free week trials under a name that doesn't exist, and then cancel it after a week.
Yeah, I even told Sam Sunday I don't want to record. I don't want to record a post game, but it's not going to be anything positive. It's going to be absolutely negative. Give me tomorrow.
I would rather get blown out than blow 21-0. Yeah. I would rather get blown out.
I mean, it's just
and that's not true, because you want to see some positives when you watch a game, and just getting blown out 27-3 or whatever the Ravens game was. But man, that loss last week hurts the team more than a blowout. I think.
Absolutely. 150% agree.
But do you think does Zach Taylor in your mind get a whole extra another year? Does he get a whole third year before you want to get rid of him?
Can I go first? Do you mind if I go with this?
Okay, go ahead.
The reason I do, and I know this is going to sound horrible, especially because we interviewed Eric Bieniemy.
Oh, I know.
We didn't.
Well, no one wanted to be here. That's what sucks. No one wanted to be here. And I don't blame him. I don't blame him.
My whole thing is with Joe Burrow is with Zach Taylor. I think the hardest thing for Zach Taylor that he needs to realize after this year, before he gets his third and final last shot, you have to be hard on your personnel, man. I get you're friends with Jim Turner. I get you're a loyal guy, and that's the one thing I love about him, and I think that can be a positive. And as you've seen, that he knows how to call an offense. If you look at our offense this year compared to last year, substantially better. But then you look at the defensive side, your inability to let go of coaches or make changes defensively when things are going wrong, you got to get that fixed. But the fact that in Joe Burrow's first year, the offense has looked this productive with a rookie quarterback, and you have all these weapons, I think with an addition of another offensive lineman, I really hope they get AJ Green for another 2 years, just like a friendly contract, because you saw what he could do when he's productive. I know, but I want him.
I love him, but we don't need him.
After T. Higgins went for 125, I know, but
AJ Green is my favorite Bengal of all time, and it hurts to say, but even with the great game like he had last week, we might be better off using.
Tell me you didn't go nuts when he hit that catch on fourth and 10. You went freaking wild. I swore so many like a sailor after that.
I mean,
but back to my.
I hope.
But I just want to say to finish it up,
not for a lot of money.
No, and that's the thing. It's I think that you give Zach Taylor another year. because at the very least, you got this is his first year with Joe Burrow. I think he's done a really good job with Joe Burrow. I don't think he's had any help in the offensive line. If you get an offensive line, I think that's going to help substantially. Jonah Williams is a stud right now. I think he's actually going to be a stable left tackle. Michael Jordan's good. Trey Hopkins is a sleeper, undrafted, 3-year deal, got him locked in.
Those are the only two you want to keep, though. The only
two
I want to see back
Not
start
badass
next year.
Billy Price.
Put him on, Bobby!
I wanted Billy to be good, and I tried so hard to root. I'm like, dude, if you can't make it to start on the Bengals right now, you got problems.
So I do think Zach Taylor gets into the year. Joe Denneman said it. I can see why. But then again, if this season goes the way it continues to go with the locker room and all these problems, and we poop our pants or fart like you said in November with all those great teams, I'm okay.
Oh, we're gonna fart.
How about this? We're gonna fart loud. It's gonna be smelly. I'm okay with either way. I'm okay with Zach Taylor staying, and I'm okay with him going. But then again, if he goes, we're gonna get like a Chan Gailey or like a Pat Shermer. Like, no, like just see what happens. So we're not getting.
There's a chance if he goes this year. This is my kind of dream scenario, even though it requires us having a terrible year.
Talk to me, Luke.
I think a scenario that could end up being good for the Bengals is Zach Taylor has a couple more moments like he had this past week where we have the talent. Our guys are there. We are showing that we can put up points. But we get out-coached like we got out-coached last game, and it becomes clear that the coach is the one of the main problems we have, which I don't want to go there yet, but I'm leaning that might be the case. Let's say we lose. Let's say we only win 1 or 2 more games this year, like I think will probably happen. I think we go 3-12-1, right?
Not bad. Those are good test scores.
Let's say there's a locker room problem, and like Mike Brown doesn't like breaking contracts and paying for people that are on contract. So he's not going to fire him this year. He's not going to. If he's going to fire him, he's going to fire him next year in the middle of the year. Maybe, probably not. But if it's going to happen, it'll be then. But if he gets fired this year and Mike Zimmer gets fired in Minnesota this year.
We're all thinking it. We're all seeing it in Minnesota.
I would be licking my fingers to get the Zim Zam back in Cincinnati.
So let me put you on the spot. A little role play action, Luke. You're Mike Brown, and I'm Minnesota front office. I cut Mike Zimmer at the end of the year, and you're thinking, okay, I'm going to keep Zach Taylor for 1 more year, but you see Zimmer out there. Does that change Mike Brown's opinion at all?
Probably not, because it's all about money with him, and Zach is under contract, and he's not going to.
Dude, Tobin takes one of those injections or puts him in a sleeper hold, and he says, "Hey,
we'll take him." It would be like a dream. I would love to have Mike Zimmer coach the Bengals. Okay. I would love to have Mike Zimmer come in. He wouldn't come in and be a defensive coordinator or something like that. He wouldn't do that, I don't think. But
no. I was hoping Dan Quinn would do that, but
I would not mind if it shakes out, and it's not going to. But I would love to have Mike Zimmer come back coach the Bengals.
Yep. Well, I think that's I think we all are in agreement on that, and we've taken plenty of much of your time, Luke. I really appreciate it.
Luke, we sincerely, man, so this happens every week. We're like, hey, only about 20 minutes because I got to cut all this tape. I got to find some clips, and then they'll send me the clip, and it'll be like an hour and 8 minutes. I'm like, I'm gonna just have to go to Starbucks, and my Wi-Fi sucks so bad. So I have to go to Starbucks and just cut and tape. But honestly, man, it is the biggest blessing to have support of other Bengals fans, and also your time, especially knowing you have a billion things to do than come to a podcast with 16 and a half
guys,
followers.
Happy to do it. Like I said, I'm out here in a Bengals desert, and it's good to talk Bengals, and I'm sorry that they've poisoned my mind and that I can no longer find happiness in them, but there will be a day, you guys, where we're accidentally good.
Okay, so let's make a pact here. The day that we win, we get you back on the show, right? And we're all positively.
If we win and beat the Browns, I'll come back and take a victory lap that I called that we beat the Browns.
Done. Sure. All right. So now we got to.
And then we're gonna beat Tennessee, and then we're gonna beat Michigan, and then we're going to the White House.
Yeah, I'll I'll happily PR.
All
Look
right.
at the Browns.
You're first. Luke Null, thank you so much again. Appreciate
Thank you, Luke.
Thanks, guys.
Keep up
Thanks
the
for having
tweets.
us.
It's been a pleasure, man. Who day, baby.
it.
Who day, baby? Let's win 5 games and not be able to draft an offensive lineman and then
It's
just
what we
do
do,
it all
baby.
over
We'll
again.
get. Oh yeah. Get a cornerback out of Washington or something.
Hey, let's be just good enough to not be able to improve the team.
What we live for. See you, Luke. Thanks, man.